G'day guys, and welcome back to another video. This video is going to be a tutorial video on how to put together your basic rod and reel setup. And guys, if you're an experienced fisherman, you've been doing it for years and you absolutely love it, I want you to give your best tip for a young fisherman or someone that's just starting out to help them on their journey. So I'm going to run through some tackle basics to set yourself up or to set your kids up if they've got a keen interest in fishing and you just need to help them out. I'm gonna run through the basic things that you need to set up to go and get some herring, whiting, skippy, some squid, because there's not too much you need to know. There's 3 basic knots which I use, and I can run you through them. And with those knots, you'll be able to put together a few different rigs. It's been raining here for the last couple of days, and I haven't brought any fish in. It wasn't through a lack of trying. I went out on the jetty and I couldn't catch anything but trumpeters. I went out to the rocks, but the swell was coming in too much. I went out to the jetty out at Canal Rocks and nothing was biting. It's just one of those days. And that is gonna happen to you guys when you go out fishing. So with the rain, with the cold weather, I thought, let's stay inside and practice putting our fishing tackle together. Okay, so the rod and reel that I would be suggesting, that is very versatile. It's a spin reel, which is like our traditional egg beater. I think size-wise, a 4000 is a great reel. You can use it for almost anything. I use this setup here for catching herring, catching squid, flicking lures for salmon. I even caught a massive tuna on it one day. It was an absolute blast. But a 4000 reel paired on about a 7-foot rod. This rod here is a 7'3" and it's a 4 to 8 kilo. You'll find that information written on the rod, and when you go to your tackle store, you can almost guarantee that they're going to help you out picking out the perfect combo. I find a slightly longer rod to be really good for casting off the beach, casting off the jetty, getting a bit more length, but it's also not too long that if you take it out on a boat, it's not going to be too awkward. The first thing I want to show you is how to connect our braid to our leader. The leader is the bit at the end of our line which provides a bit of extra strength and stretch, and that we are going to tie our rig to. First thing, flick your bail arm over. What we're going to do is just thread these through the guides, the eyelets on the rod. Okay, once you've threaded through, give yourself a bit of length to work with. Flick that bail arm back over and sit your rod aside. All right, now we've got our braid and we're gonna grab our leader. So what I'm gonna go with from tying our braid to our leader is some 20-pound. The knot that we're gonna do here is called an Albright knot. Quite a simple knot, but it means that you don't need a swivel to join your braid and leader, and you can run that leader back through the line and still be able to cast it. Okay, to start with, we're gonna be making a loop. Hopefully you can see that. Coming back through on our leader, and then we're going to take our braid, we're going to loop it through and pinch it in our fingers as well. So we've got our leader that way. Okay, take a pinch at that with your hand, and then it's as simple as going around all 3 of those lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to go 8 to 10 times around here. Okay, then we're going to pinch on all those loops. And then, instead of going around all 3, we're going to loop just over the braid. Whoop. Just over the braid. And one of those strands of the leader. Looping through once, twice, 3 times. Okay? And now that there is what's going to lock the knot in. And we're just going to gently pull on it. We're not going to tighten it too much. Just a little bit. And then a little bit of spit on there to reduce the friction so we don't damage our line, and then we can just tighten it up. Okay, now to trim our tag lines, you've got no handier piece of kit in your tackle box than some crafting scissors. Also much safer and easier to use than a knife. We're just going to trim that off. So like that, just take the tag, and then the same on the leader end. Okay, And now we've got a join from our braid to our leader without the use of a swivel. The amount of leader I like to wind off onto my rod is a length and a half of the rod. So what I'll do, I'll wind it up. I'll wind it onto the reel until the join is just above the bail arm. Okay, so winding that on. And now that join, the Albright knot, is sitting right here. And that's how much I want to have on the line. Bring that back. Whoop. And then another half length of the rod. And that's where I'm going to trim it. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to be joining our leader to a clip swivel. A clip swivel is a great option for our lighter and medium fishing because it means we can quite easily interchange our rigs. We're going to be tying a uni knot to that end of the swivel, and then the clip is what we're going to just change out our rigs super quickly if the fish that are around have changed. The other great thing about a clip swivel is you can just clip straight onto there with your squid jig or your little tailor lure and get straight into that action as well. A uni knot is the knot that I use the most when I'm tying off hooks, swivels, almost any bit of tackle. It's great. Looping our leader through the eye of the swivel, back over on itself, creating another loop. Whoop. Creating another loop like that. And then just gonna put the tag through the loop and over the 2 lengths of line. We're gonna go 4 to 6 times. Usually if you've got a heavier line, you'll go more. So I've just gone through 5 times there, pulling it down tight, and then that knot will just pull on itself. Lovely like that. And just trimming off that tag, and that there is a uni knot. So from there we can create our other rigs and just clip them straight on. The first rig I'm going to show you is the herring rig. So what we're going to have is our leader going through a float. And the pointy end of the float is going to be heading in the direction back to the rod, and the rounder end of the float is going to be going to our hook. We're going to thread our line through and out that float. And on this end, we're just going to make a loop. I think this would be called a figure of 8 knot. So what we're going to do is loop that back over on itself, create one loop here, like that with the 2 ends. You might need to replay this a couple of times and then you can just follow along. So through once, and then through twice. Okay, and that's just going to pull down on itself and you've got yourself a lovely little loop to go onto that clip swivel. Okay, so our float is here, and then we're going to trim off and tie off to a swivel. And what we're going to do is just another uni knot there with our 4 wraps. And our uni knot is tied. Trimming the tail, and that there is the first part of our rig. A loop knot to a float to a swivel. Okay, and now to go from our swivel to our hook, we're going to take about 1 meter of line, tie a loop knot onto that swivel again, loop on, knot tied, trim that line. Okay, the hook of choice when we're going for herring or whiting, I find are the red mustard hooks. They're a great hook. These are a size 8 and they're good for your herring and whiting. If you're going for your King George whiting or slightly bigger fish, they're slightly bigger sizes that are perfect for this. Little trick, before you go putting your hook on, get yourself a bit of tube. This is like a luminescent tube, and it means that sometimes when the herring are biting, you don't even need bait. You can get away with just using this. So before we go tying our hook on, we're going to thread that through. And then same again, just sticking to our basic knot, we're going to go our uni knot, the old faithful. Once through, loop it back, and then through, let's just go the 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good use of the teeth. There we go. Trim that tag. I'm going to take the loop, put it all together, slide it onto our clip swivel. So they just unclip like that. Loop him on. There we go. So we're looking at clip swivel, float, swivel, And then through to the magic end of the deal, we've got our tube of fluoro, and that's just gonna slide onto our hook. Cover up our knot, and that'll catch you some fish. With a bit of squid, mate, I don't think you could not catch it. However, I didn't catch him the other day, but I didn't have the tube, I'd left it at home, so that's the trick. Okay guys, that there is a cracking rig to catch yourself some herring and many other fish. It's ideal for if you're on weedy ground and you don't want to go getting your bait and your hook and all that snagged up on the bottom. This is the ripper off the beach. Now, if you're trying to catch some whiting, you want to be on the sand patches and you want to be down on the bottom. What we're going to do here is we're going to swap out the float for a sinker. It's that simple. So just trimming off the edge. You could make multiple rigs if you're down the beach and you wanted to swap between the two, but we're going to slide off that float. Another thing I forgot to mention is this float here has got a hole in there, and that's for shoving your burley, your pollen and tuna oil mix to bring the fish around real quick. What we have here is a bean sinker. The bean sinker is just gonna thread straight onto that line, through there. This is a size 4, and you just wanna weight your sinker so you can get a good cast length, because that heavier sinker, you'll be able to cast further, but if you're too heavy, it's too much strain on your rod. And if it's not heavy enough, you won't be able to cast at all. So same again, just clip swivel through to our sinker and then back onto the swivel with a uni knot. The classic uni knot. I'm never gonna stop saying it. 1, 2, 3, 4 with the teeth. Teeth on the tag and then tighten it down. Beautiful. And when fishing for whiting, I would suggest that you skip the bit of tube and get a nice piece of squid on there. Squid tentacle goes a charm. So we've set ourselves up for the herring rig and the whiting rig, but you feel like getting yourself a skippy because you've seen us do sashimi before. You've got a friend with a boat, or you've walked out on the jetty and you want to catch yourself a skippy. So we'll unclip our clip swivel and we'll set up to make a little patinosta rig, which is rather than having our bait and hook at the end of our rig, we have our sinker at the end of the rig. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have our sinker at the base. This is a little snapper sinker, a 2 ounce. And then we're gonna go to, I have a pack of Shinto Pro hooks. This is about a size 2, and they're an octopus hook. That's what I usually use. A nice little, well, this one's called an octopus brake hook. That one there's many different types of hooks, Gamakatsus, BKKs. But if you go down to your local tackle store and say, I wanna catch some skippy, they'll point you in the right direction. Okay, going for skippy, I'd like to use a slightly heavier line. So I've got myself some 40-pound leader. I'm still gonna just use this little clip swivel. It's gonna be more than strong enough. I'm gonna roll out a length of line about 1.5 meters to 1.8 meters, a good arm's length, and trim it off. So to make that loop for our sinker, we're gonna fold back on itself. Okay, pinch those two together, make a loop, and bring it back through. When it's for my sinker, I only loop through once, because it doesn't need to be as strong, because it's only holding your sinker and not your fish you're fighting. And then looping that, I give that a little pinch with my teeth so it comes nice and close together, and I can feed it straight through the snapper sinker and loop it back through. There we go, that's dangling there. Now we've got our length of line. At the other end, we're gonna put another little loop, but because this one's going to be holding our fish, I double it over twice. So back through once and then through again. Tighten that up, just like so, and that's going to be going onto our snap swivel. Clip swivel, snap swivel. Okay, then looping that onto our snap swivel and closing it up. Going nowhere. So one end we've got our clip swivel, the other end we've got our snapper sinker. Now we need a hook in the middle. We're going to be creating another loop to loop through our hook, and that's going to be catching our fish. If you're going for skippy, you're allowed to have a couple of hooks, a couple of droppers, but if we're going for demersals, you're only allowed 1 dropper. In WA, that is. Okay, so to create this loop, we're going to loop it back over on itself. Okay, you're going to need to use your teeth for this. We've made the loop. And I'm going to put this in my mouth, so my speech might be a bit funny. And then what we're going to do is take our fingers, put it between the 2 lines, and twist them. We're going to twist it about 8 times. Once we've done that, we're gonna have a nice little hole like this, and we're gonna feed the bit that was in our mouth back through. And then take it back with your mouth and tighten them down. Pulling from both sides, you'll get a nice even knot. You'll have your sinker at the bottom and a lovely little loop. You've got the loop there. We're gonna pinch it together. And that there is gonna fit through the eye of your hook. And then you'll loop your hook back through the hole and it will tighten on itself. If you're changing the type of fish, you can easily take that one off and put a bigger hook or a smaller hook and be straight back in the water without having to do a new rig. So there we have it, that's our skippy hook. If you feel like some sashimi, that's the rig for you. Okay, we've gone over our rig with a float, our rig with a little bean sinker ready to catch some whiting. We've set up a patinosta rig, which we're gonna be using if we wanna catch some skippy. So there we've got 3 different options, and you've always got the option of using that clip swivel, popping on a squid jig or a lure and catching yourself some fish that way. A little spin lure from the tackle store will get you plenty of herring as well. Get the burley going and you'll be in for some fun. Thank you very much for watching that video. I hope those 3 basic knots pretty much bring all your tackle together, and then along the way you can learn some new ones as well. On a rainy day, guys, get this video out. Practice tying your knots, take a few photos and videos, tag us in them on your socials, and would love to see what you get up to and how it helps you out. So get out there, get fishing, have some fun, because that's what it's all about. Big love from the Salty Max. Enjoy the video and we'll see you next week. We've got some good weather coming, so the boat's going out again.